Welcome, viewers. Today we uncover the hidden engine of American supremacy. Many of you might truly believe that America's ultimate weapon is its military. But the true source of their global dominance is simply an ordinary piece of green paper. This grand, invisible empire, the petrodollar, has strictly controlled the world for decades. Now, powerful nations are secretly uniting to dismantle this monumental financial throne. In quiet trading rooms on Wall Street, a terrifying financial shift is unfolding right now. Glowing red screens broadcast a truly chilling reality for the Western financial elite. Russia, China, and Iran are now quietly forging massive, historic global trade agreements. They are completely bypassing the dollar, choosing to settle all their deals in gold and yuan. This silent rebellion aims to overthrow an empire that controls without ever using armies. For over 50 years, the United States has held the ultimate geopolitical trump card. They possessed the magical ability to print endless money without facing total ruin. If this mighty petrodollar system shatters, American global hegemony will collapse. The foundation of Western wealth is cracking under the heavy weight of these bold Eastern alliances. Billions of dollars are being drained from the system as powerful independent networks emerge. To understand this modern crisis, we must journey back to a freezing, bitter winter of panic. Imagine waking up to find your nation's wealth completely erased overnight. What would you do? What exactly triggered this unprecedented financial architecture in the very first place? The answer lies hidden in the desperate shadows of the 1973 oil crisis. In 1973, Arab nations launched a devastating oil embargo on the West. The mighty American economy suddenly ground to a freezing, unpredictable, and chaotic halt. Furious citizens waited for agonizing hours in massive lines just to buy drops of gasoline. Gas stations across the country were completely empty, fueling a nationwide sense of dread. Inflation skyrocketed, destroying savings and crushing the fragile American working class. President Richard Nixon faced an unprecedented existential threat to the republic's survival. Just 2 years earlier, he had already boldly severed the dollar's historic connection to gold. The greenback was floating freely, vulnerable to the harsh, unforgiving winds of market panic. America needed a highly valuable anchor to save its newly printed fiat money. The administration executed a truly brilliant and genius diplomatic maneuver. Secretary of State Henry Kissinger embarked on a highly classified mission to the East. He traveled to the sun-scorched, unforgiving deserts of Saudi Arabia to meet with King Faisal. Within the opulent golden halls of the royal palace, a secret pact was carefully forged. The terms of this monumental agreement were simple, yet incredibly devastatingly effective. America firmly promised absolute military protection for the Saudi royal family. In return, the Saudis ensured all OPEC oil was systematically sold exclusively in US dollars. Furthermore, their massive surplus profits would be heavily invested right back into US bonds. This historical handshake fundamentally altered the course of the modern global economy. Oil, the vital fuel of civilization, was permanently chained to the American currency. Every single nation needed petroleum to survive, to endlessly build, and to power their armies. Therefore, every nation was forced to hold massive reserves of United States currency. This brilliant strategic maneuver created an artificial global demand out of thin air. The United States had essentially discovered the ultimate alchemist's philosopher's stone. Historical archives show this pact was kept quiet to avoid any massive public backlash. If your country could print the world's money without consequence, would you ever really stop printing it? The monumental golden era of the Petrodollar empire had officially begun its global reign. Washington successfully weaponized the vital fuel that kept the modern industrial world alive. From Riyadh, the Federal Reserve's terrifying power expanded infinitely across the globe. This era proved that economics could be far more devastating than any conventional warfare. A nation's sovereignty was no longer defined by its borders, but heavily by its bank accounts. And the United States held the only key to the vault, watching as the rest of the world complied. To ensure complete dominance, they built an intricate digital spiderweb beautifully known as SWIFT. This secure network thoroughly connected thousands of powerful global financial institutions. Every major oil purchase heavily relied on this massive global financial nervous system. On the surface, SWIFT appeared as a perfectly neutral and a highly efficient cooperative. Many scholars forcefully argue it was secretly weaponized by Washington from the very start. Because most deals cleared in dollars, American banks effectively acted as the ultimate gatekeepers. The US government gained the terrifying ability to track almost every single transaction. They carefully observed the flow of wealth, like a tactician studying an illuminated battlefield. Defying American policy brought an immediate and a brutally swift economic retaliation. Sanctions became the modern weapon, effectively replacing heavily armored battalions. With a single stroke, a foreign central bank could be utterly disconnected from the SWIFT network. Suddenly they could not sell oil, import essential medicine, or even pay their government workers. Their economy would suffocate, plunging millions into devastating poverty and complete chaos. The petrodollar allowed Washington to exert dominance without deploying a single soldier. For long decades, this unipolar financial hegemony remained completely unchallenged globally. Absolute power historically breeds resentment among those crushed beneath its massive weight. Sanctioned countries soon realized they shared a common, incredibly dangerous financial enemy. Financially strangled for many years, Iran was forced to quickly adapt or completely fade away. They quickly became a living laboratory for a radical new concept known as De-dollarization. Unable to use SWIFT, Tehran secretly established a massive dark fleet of ghost oil tankers. These untracked, mysterious ships navigated the global waters, loaded with highly lucrative black gold. They began trading their energy reserves directly for physical gold bullion and foreign goods. This resilient underground economy proved life outside the petrodollar matrix was highly possible. Watching Iran's resilient survival, other major global powers began taking very detailed notes. The flashback ends, bringing us directly back to the terrifying reality of the present day. Today, the global geopolitical chessboard has been fundamentally and permanently rearranged. Russia, facing its own massive wave of crippling Western sanctions, greatly accelerated the timeline. Cut off from Western banking, Moscow and Beijing rapidly expanded their own alternative systems. The once supreme dollar is slowly being replaced by heavily gold-backed regional currencies. Central banks worldwide are quietly hoarding record amounts of physical gold bullion in their secure vaults. They are preparing themselves for a future where American money is simply no longer trusted. Even traditional historical allies are now cautiously hedging their massive financial bets. Saudi Arabia, the ultimate cornerstone of the petrodollar, recently shocked Washington completely. They officially announced their willingness to accept Chinese yuan for their crude oil exports. The legendary 50-year monopoly of the US dollar has finally been deeply and permanently fractured. This is an absolutely monumental, tectonic realignment of global geopolitical power dynamics. For Washington, the global stakes could not possibly be any higher than they are at this exact moment. Scholars firmly argue the dollar is currently facing its greatest threat in modern human history. If global demand for dollars vanishes, the resulting financial impact will be incredibly devastating. The US could no longer freely export its severe inflation to the rest of the developing world. Trillions of dollars held overseas would immediately flood right back into the domestic economy. This massive influx would trigger hyperinflation, destroying the average citizen's hard-earned wealth. Funding an enormous global military through endless debt would simply and permanently evaporate overnight. American global superiority is deeply and irrevocably tethered to this fragile financial illusion. To prevent this complete collapse, the empire will fight back with absolute, unrelenting ferocity. We are witnessing the very beginning of an absolutely colossal, high-stakes global financial conflict. Financial sanctions, once used as surgical scalpels, are now being deployed as blunt, massive sledgehammers. But every time Washington furiously swings this massive hammer, more nations quietly slip away. The mighty vaults of the Federal Reserve can no longer project absolute global invincibility. The long era of the undisputed petrodollar is drawing to a chaotic and devastating close. The entire world is intensely witnessing the painful birth of a multipolar financial system. Nations are actively and strategically diversifying their massive sovereign wealth portfolios today. They are carefully buying thousands of tons of physical gold to fiercely protect themselves. Powerful Eastern nations are aggressively building an alternative to the SWIFT banking network. This highly sophisticated digital infrastructure will eventually bypass American banking entirely. The legendary petrodollar agreement was never officially signed on public paper. It was a highly classified mutual understanding, heavily built on absolute geopolitical necessity. But today, the unconditional military protection America promised is being fiercely questioned. Middle Eastern leaders are increasingly looking towards Beijing for economic and security ties. This extremely pivotal geopolitical pivot threatens to completely dismantle decades of supremacy. Let us closely examine the massive underground oil trade keeping sanctioned Iran perfectly alive. Their heavily disguised, untraceable ghost fleets continuously navigate the deepest, dark waters. These massive cargo vessels disable their tracking devices to thoroughly escape global surveillance. They quietly transfer crude oil in the middle of the dark night to hidden global buyers. Payment is settled strictly outside the dollar system, using local currencies or pure physical gold. This highly resilient shadow economy firmly proves that the dollar matrix can finally be broken. Washington's ultimate financial weapon has severely accelerated its own painful and tragic demise. The more frequently these brutal sanctions are applied, the faster alternative networks heavily grow. When a global currency is used as a weapon, neutral nations will naturally seek strong, defensive shields. The powerful BRICS alliance is rapidly expanding to include major energy-producing nations. This incredibly powerful coalition now controls a massive share of the world's petroleum output. If they collectively decide to price their valuable oil in entirely different currencies today, the artificial demand heavily holding up the United States economy will simply completely vanish. Imagine billions of worthless green paper notes quickly flooding back into the domestic market. The purchasing power of the average American citizen would be absolutely and permanently crushed. Historical data undeniably shows that all great fiat empires eventually face this exact ruin. Rome drastically diluted its silver denarius to fiercely fund its endless military campaigns. America is currently slowly walking down that very same dangerous historical pathway towards collapse. The complex petrodollar system is not just simply economics. It is pure global survival. To aggressively protect this system, America will surely deploy every tactical asset currently available. We are radically shifting from the unipolar American world to a fractured multipolar reality. The turbulent Middle East is currently fast becoming a terrifying ideological battleground. Endless conflicts in the region are fundamentally proxy wars for total global financial supremacy. He who fully commands and strongly controls the vital flow of energy effectively controls modern civilization. And he who heavily controls the currency of that energy possesses godlike earthly dominance and power. As the complex global chessboard actively shifts, average citizens remain completely and blissfully unaware. Their deeply trusted savings and pensions are strongly tied to a potentially sinking financial ship. If the mighty petrodollar finally falls, resulting shockwaves will truly shatter the entire Western world. Are we intensely witnessing the final dramatic chapters of the massive American financial empire? Will a brand new, heavily gold-backed global currency system successfully rise from the burning ashes? The brutal transition of global power is practically never a peaceful or purely diplomatic process. History clearly teaches us that rapidly collapsing global empires often lash out with intense ferocity. The once mighty, unshakable fortress of the United States Treasury is finally showing critical cracks. As powerful nations aggressively hoard physical gold, they quietly prepare for the incoming storm. The long era of endless fiat printing is forcefully colliding with harsh global economic reality. We are standing on the terrifying precipice of a completely brand new global financial order. Weaponizing their money has ultimately triggered the inevitable downfall of the mighty dollar. The petrodollar brought massive wealth to America, but at an absolutely devastating global cost. Is weaponizing global finance a necessary tactical defense, or pure, unadulterated tyranny? If you enjoyed this deep historical dive, please hit the like button Generously share and subscribe for more.